Hello again, second video on this topic, and it's been a few days, so figured I'd just try to pick it back up again. I think I mentioned that I sometimes like to latch on to random numbers, and a lot of times I feel like it doesn't really mean anything, and it probably doesn't most of the time. But then there's times when things kind of jive with what's going on, what's happening in the world. So this morning's random number was 603. That was obtained from viewing the screen on a medical device, which happens to be my CPAP machine. So I thought, okay, what the hey, I'll look it up, and I'll look it up in the Strong's Index just to see what biblical studies, can come out of, what words would be related to those index numbers, and what could come out of that. So without too much further ado, I'm just going to aim the phone at the computer screen, and I'll just read what I found. All right, so I don't know that this is gonna show up real well, but we're gonna try it. The number was 603. In the Hebrew, it's the transliteration in English is anakah. I think that's how that's pronounced. And it essentially means crying out, groaning, sighing. And then they list shrieking as an alternative. But it has to do with crying out to the Lord in desperation. And it appears 4 times in the Old Testament: Psalms 12:5, Psalm 79:11, Psalm 102:20, and in Malachi 2:13. In every case, it represents an audible, heartfelt expression of distress that's lifted toward God. Now I'm going to skip down to the part that really caught my eye here. From complaint to hope, anakah functions as the hinge between lament and praise. It gives voice to agony while anticipating a future answer, prefiguring the New Testament assurance. We know that the whole creation has been groaning, waiting eagerly for adoption. When I go to Romans, we know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. So what is that in reference to? I believe that's in reference to the rapture of the church. That's what I believe that's in reference to. So let's go back to it. I wanted to skip down to the eschatological horizon. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that word. It's the pattern: groaning, divine hearing, deliverance, culminates in the gospel. Christ enters the world. The world sighs. He bears them on the cross, and he promises final liberation. Until that consummation, the anakah remains both a reminder of the world's brokenness and a catalyst for hope in the coming King. That, in my mind, is a reference to the millennial kingdom that Jesus will rule in, which lasts for 1,000 years. We read about that toward the end of the book of Revelation. So anyway, that's the Hebrew transliteration and definition. And you're welcome to go to Bible Hub and look this up yourself. But 603. So then I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's look at the Greek, because there's an index for Greek words. This was going to be hard for me to pronounce. The transliteration is apokaradokia, I believe. I believe it's dakia. Apokaradokia. They give a pronunciation there. I think maybe I did close to right. But anyway, the meaning of it is anxious, longing, earnest expectation. And then it gives kind of like the compound of kara, the head, and dakio in the sense of watching, intense anticipation, earnest expectation. That they describe it as literally with the head outstretched, like you're straining to look forward to something, referring to an eager, intense expectation. That's what that's referring to, or that's how they describe it. An attentive expectation. It's used twice in the Bible, in the New Testament. Romans 8:19 and Philippians 1:20. The Romans 8:19 applies the term directly to each believer that's receiving a unique glorified body at Christ's return. And that passage out of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 35 through 54 is a passage that's referencing the rapture of God's church. This intense expectation fosters earnest longing to see Jesus. It is portrayed as an Olympic runner who's straining forward to the end goal with his head outstretched. Romans 8:19. This automatically also means turning away from what is lesser to lay a hold of what is greater. So we'll skip down a little further. Strong's Greek 603 designates the heightened sense of expectancy. Sorry, I'm stuttering here. An alert, a forward-leaning anticipation that strains toward a future unveiling of God's purposes. In the New Testament, it appears only in Romans 8:19 and Philippians 1:20, yet its rare use pulses with theological depth, tying together creation's longing and apostolic courage and the believer's hope. There's a scripture in Titus, a very small book in the New Testament, that talks about our blessed hope, and that's a reference to the rapture of the church, to seeing Jesus as he collects us from this wicked earth and takes us out of it before God's judgment comes down on it. Romans 8:19, the creation waits in eager expectation for revelation of the sons of God. This is in reference to what happens to believers who are raptured. They are glorified given a glorified body as it's described in the 15th chapter of 1 Corinthians. And also it appears in Philippians 1:20. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have complete boldness, so that now as always Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. Again, this could be looked at as the final judgment seat of Christ for the believer, the bema. In other words, to stand before the Lord at that bema seat and to be able to receive a reward from him for faithful service. Unlike ordinary waiting, the term carries a visceral picture. The head stretched forward, the eyes fixed on the horizon. It is watchful and active and unwavering. In Romans, the whole created order leans forward toward the consummation of redemption. In Philippians, Paul applies the same posture to his own personal future, whether through continued life or imminent death. So Romans 8 situates the entire cosmos in a posture of eager expectation. The universal longing underscores both the certainty and the consummate glory of the believer's adoption. The term affirms that redemption is not abstract, but a guaranteed divine event toward which everything is oriented. Philippians 1:20 reveals that eager expectation fuels courageous witness. Paul's expectation is paired with hope, indicating that confident anticipation dissolves shame and empowers proclamation. The believer's future hope is inseparable from present courage. And then the eschatological horizon, I have a hard time saying that. Eschatological has to do with end things, like the ending, the end times. In both contexts of those scriptures above, the word directs attention to Christ's ultimate disclosure, either the revelation of the sons of God or Christ being exalted through Paul's life or death. Thus, the Christian worldview is forward-looking without being escapist. Its present faithfulness is energized by the certainty of future glory. That's shouting rapture all over the place. So I'm not going to go more into it. I mean, you're welcome to go to Bible Hub. I don't know if there was like any concluding remarks there, but maybe the summary. So in the summary, the longings of creation and the courage of the apostle are combined into one vivid image of straining expectation. It teaches that every sigh or groaning, the groaning world, and every act of faithful witness is oriented toward the same assured horizon, the public unveiling of Christ and his people. Until that moment, believers live, they serve, and they suffer with heads lifted and eyes fixed, certain that the glory to be revealed will eclipse every present trial. So with that said, I think that's made this video almost 15 minutes long. But anyway, you get the idea, I think. Today's random number turned into a personal devotional, which I'm thankful for. So, with that said, sayonara, signing off. Have a nice day.